The fluorescent lights of Mrs. Keiser's biology classroom hummed, a low, constant thrum that usually lulled students into a drowsy stupor, but not today. Today, Albert felt a prickle of unease that had nothing to do with boredom. Mrs. Keiser, an imposing woman with DNA spiraling on her perpetually patterned scarves, was lecturing on transcription. "Think of DNA," she boomed, her voice resonating strangely in the room, as the master blueprint. And RNA is the copy. The messenger translating that blueprint into living, breathing proteins. Her words, precise and clinical, weren't just entering their ears. Albert felt them, a subtle pressure at the back of his skull, as if something were being pressed directly into his very being. He glanced around. His classmates, usually fidgeting or passing notes, were unnaturally still, their eyes fixed on Mrs. Keiser. A strange, almost imperceptible shift was occurring. First, it was subtle. Emily, who sat in front of him, had always had a slight upturn to her nose. Now it seemed to flatten ever so slightly, mimicking the straight bridge of Mrs. Keiser's. Then came the eyes. David's usually sparkling blue eyes seemed to darken, taking on the muddy hazel of their teachers. A wave of nausea washed over Albert. Mrs. Keiser continued, her voice gaining a hypnotic rhythm. "Each word I utter is a genetic code, a command for creation. You, my students, are the perfect medium for this transcription." Albert tried to look away, to break the eerie spell, but his head felt clamped, his gaze inexorably drawn back to his teacher. He saw the subtle hardening of skin on his classmates' faces, the way their lips thinned, their cheekbones becoming more angular, more like hers. The individual quirks, the unique expressions, were being smoothed away, replaced by a uniform, unsettling sameness. Panic clawed at Albert's throat. He felt the familiar shape of his own nose, subtly reshaping, the curve of his chin subtly sharpening. His vision blurred, not from tears, but as if his own eyes were struggling to adjust to a new, unfamiliar focus. He could feel the words, Mrs. Keiser's words, not just being heard, but being integrated. Then Mrs. Keiser smiled, a wide, unsettling grin that stretched her lips too far. "And now," she whispered, her voice a collective echo from every student in the room, each of their voices, perfectly synchronized with hers. "The protein is complete." Albert looked down at his desk. His hand, once his own, was now a mirror image of Mrs. Keiser's gnarled, age-spotted hand. He looked up, and instead of a classroom full of distinct faces, he saw 23 perfect replicas of Mrs. Keiser, all smiling the same wide, unsettling smile. And from every one of those identical mouths, the collective voice boomed, "Class dismissed."